Welcome along to the Spearo Diaries podcast with Elise and Laura, two mermaids chatting about spearfishing and ocean adventures.
In this episode, we hear from our lovely friend and training queen. She is an elegant ocean appreciator, a qualified aider instructor, creator of Oar Freedive, and Spearo Mum.
The graceful, elegant creature and classy water weapon, Kerry Walden. Get those ear holes ready. We are here with the beautiful and graceful Kerry. We've just finished training for fundamentals and had our token weekly after training dinner at one of our pubs. And we tried to find a good location for this chat because we wanted to make sure we can hear everything Kerry has to say. And it just turns out that the best place for our new amateur podcast is the corner of the TAB section of the pub, but that's okay. We are very thrilled to have you here, Kerry. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here, and what a fitting place for the three of us.
So we know you, Kerry, through the fundamentals, spearfishing fundamentals, and you were our first instructor on the AIDA 2 course. We've been around for a couple years now getting to know you, and we've had an awesome time.
By memory, actually, it definitely wasn't one of Elise's first boat trips, but my very first actual boat dive, Kerry was present with Rob and Elise. We were all there together. There's just so much we appreciate about you, and you're one of the first people that we wanted to talk to when we thought about doing our podcast. We're like, we have to have Kerry on here.
Aww.
And so we're really glad that we finally have nailed you down at a certain time to talk properly with you.
At the TAB. Yeah. Okay, Kerry, so is there just going to jump straight into it now, is there a specific memory or time in the ocean that's impacted your spearing journey or your life in general?
That's a big question.
It is big.
When we were growing up, I guess my mum, she dived a lot, and we'd go out as a family, and we'd go out, the ideal thing for us was to go out, find a little beach, park up on it, leave the kids there with an auntie, and mum and dad would go off with an uncle and go for a dive. And I think if I had to think of a specific memory, and it's probably multiple of these, but it would be, mum coming in her wetsuit, wet, you know what it's like, massive smile on her face, crayfish in hand, and that real stoke that we all know that feeling, right? So
yeah.
I think just kind of seeing that and growing up with it and wanting a bit of that for myself.
That is so special. So that's she was diving on tank or free diving or spearing or
tanks. Yep, so mum and dad both scuba dived.
Wow.
And snorkeled and stuff. I don't know that we called it free diving even, but snorkeled for sort of shellfish.
Just ocean loving
but
people.
No spear guns in hand.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Gives a little bit of context, actually. I didn't know that your mum dived, but I've obviously seen lots of pictures and adventures with you and your kids now doing the same thing, so that's actually really cool to know that it's a generational hobby and passion of your family. That's awesome.
And we've had the three of us, my mum, me and my daughter, all in the water at once, which has been really cool.
Oh my God.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That is so cool, because often you hear about going diving, and a lot of people talk about how their dad threw them on their back, and off they went, but there's not a lot of stories we hear about mums taking them out, and I think that's so cool, and also such an inspiration for myself being a mum as well. That's incredible.
Rolling into our next question, one of my favourites. What does it mean to you, Kerry, to be a spearer? I know we use that term a lot and we're throwing it around, but what does it mean for you?
Yeah. Funny, because I probably wouldn't describe myself as a spearer, but if I had to think, it's the feeling, it's the anticipation of the adventure that's going to come. It's the planning and preparing, and then it's the trip and the hunt and the sharing and the stoke with each other, and it's that I don't know, how do you sum that up? It's like, what is a spearo? It's a feeling of
it's a complicated, multifaceted thing, isn't it? And I guess that's why we're all so frothy about it, and why we all like hanging around together and talking about it and doing it, and like I say, even if you don't necessarily label yourself as a spearer or even a freediver. We think that you are, and like I said, you're one of the people that we thought you would be an epic spearer to talk to, just because we've always, I guess, got such an energy off you about how much you love it, made us feel really welcome to the club, like supported us with competing, supported us with, you know, getting better at it and getting into the freediving side of it to be better at the spearfishing part.
Yeah,
So,
and you feel like you're surrounded by a bunch of people that are really connected to life and to the energy around them, and the water is a really, you know, a huge source of energy. So I think it's that. Yeah. So what does the spearo mean to me? It's the feeling of doing that thing.
feeling of doing the thing.
The feeling of doing the thing.
Enjoy that.
Yeah.
That's awesome, and I totally remember that with you when we did our AIDA course, just how calming you were, especially when we were doing our statics, and you just had such a gentle but like powerful approach with me, and you're just a really calming presence. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. For you, I know you've got a little bit of a different story for this, but how did your spearfishing journey begin?
I kind of I take it back to being really connected to the water growing up. So we did all sorts of water sports, and I started scuba diving probably as soon as Mum and Dad could kind of get a regulator in our mouths really early on. But then I spent a heap of time living overseas and really missed the ocean massively. So when we came back to New Zealand, you know, we wanted to live by the water, be in the water, kind of do that thing. And I went out with my brothers, and we were going to go and get some scallops. They said, why don't you just go freediving? I said, well, how do I do that? And they went, just hold your breath and go and get scallops.
Back in the days when we could get scallops.
Yeah. And so I sort of spent a bit of time that summer, you know, getting scallops, getting crayfish, that sort of thing. And then really loving freediving and wanting to progress that further. So I did an ocean hunter course pretty early on in the piece. I just didn't have any clue what I, you know, was doing really. So did that, and then met some amazing people through that, and even on the course, who introduced me to spearfishing, and then the addiction took over from there.
So with that, were you a little bit more of a later entry into spearfishing?
You could say that. Yeah. I mean, I didn't start spearfishing until I was over 40, you know. So
and for the level that you are at now, like for us, we're just like, oh my God, Kerry is just mind-blowingly amazing at it. So yeah, I think it's just really impressive that you have been able to come in at a later stage, I guess, compared to some people who have like grown up doing it. So yeah, that's a super impressive thing, and yeah, quite an inspiration.
Yeah, and you know, when I got into it, and you know, get that, just find this thing that you absolutely love, and I sort of thought, oh, I'm so gutted I didn't find this when I was, you know, 20 or something instead, and kind of, you know, went through that. But I think, you know, and I can now reflect on that and go, actually, I love that I didn't find it until later in life, because it's been a really awesome thing to kind of start and learn something that it's a bit challenging to learn, right? You have to put time in the water, and you have to put effort into becoming better. So it's been a really good lesson to go, actually, you can do that at any point in your life, and you know, who knows what I'll find in my 50s.
Yeah. And spearing is something that we can do all the way through. Like it's totally good for your body, good for your soul, you know.
I guess following on from the fact that scallops was sort of your first taste of gathering kaimoana, I was thinking about whether or not, you know, do you remember your first fish? Because I remember a particular story that maybe yourself or Rob might have shared with us around, it might have been when we were discussing our first kingfish, and I remember being like, oh, you know, do you remember your first one? And I learnt the story about you going out and everyone was searching for kingies, and I just remember being like, oh my gosh, this chick is awesome. She got a snapper on one of her first dives while everyone else got kingfish. Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah. It was the first proper spearfishing trip, you know, and I shot my first fish, which was a kohiru, and I think I pretty much just took a shot into a school of fish and happened to hit the kohiru, so that was awesome.
Nice.
But then, and there'd been a few kingfish shot, and I sort of, beginner, you're thinking, I want to do that. And I was diving with Rob, and he had set a burley, so it was kind of paint by numbers, dive here, burley's over there, go and shoot a fish. So dived down, and landed a really, really lovely snapper, but because I was so new to the whole thing, just had no appreciation that was
no realisation that getting a snapper was pretty damn amazing.
Probably something I might not do again for a while.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so just super lucky to have, someone showing me the ropes.
Yeah, I just remember thinking it was pretty funny that you sounded really gutted apparently that everyone else had got these kingfish and you're like, oh, I've just got a snapper because for so long, like I've only just got my second one.
Yeah.
And so for so long that's what I was thinking about, and I just had that memory of thinking, oh yeah, Kerry got in, started out spearfishing, got a snapper. Yeah, following on, you're talking about your brothers were a pretty big influence, and it sounds like your mum was an amazing role model. But do you have any other, or did you have any other particular mentors for your spearfishing or freediving along the way?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so us outside of my family, definitely Rob Harrison. So met Rob both as the freedive instructor, and then once he and Mike had started up fundamentals and training through there. And Rob pretty much put me through my spearfishing apprenticeship backwards. I shot really good fish before I learnt to shoot blue mau. So, really appreciative for someone putting in that kind of time and space.
To give our audience context to Rob that we're referring to is, if you haven't listened to the episode, Rob Harrison will be one of our previous episodes to Kerry, and that's who we're referring to, so it might be a listen for people if they haven't heard his episode.
Yeah. And Mike Smith at Ocean Hunter, he started fundamentals with Rob, and the two of them, Mike's the calmest person that you meet in the water, and just supported all the way throughout the diving years, and then but there were a whole lot of other people around, especially in the early days. We had Braden Lynch and Elliot Dunn, and they're both kind of, Braden used to have the saying, it's just CO2, so in my head I used to repeat, it's just CO2, as we trained. And Moss Burmester, as you know, always willing to kind of put us to new levels of pain and training. And then just the Fundies crew, kind of go, that's kind of grown throughout the years, and it's, as a mentor group, you think, there's the training, but then there's the dinner afterwards and all of the chat that goes around that. And I think we all kind of learn from each other's experiences, and even the stupid stuff we all do, you kind of learn from that too.
I add to that pretty regularly, the silly things that we do. Kerry, just thinking about that spearfishing fundamentals part, what is your involvement with that, and how did you get involved in that?
The first year it was set up, there were a small crew of us diving with Rob and Mike and some of the other instructors teaching us, and then after that first year they went, actually we all want to train, we want this to be something where we can all train, and so I had the opportunity to step in a little bit more to help lead with the others, and we set out to provide a place where we could train as peers in a safe environment, so we could keep improving, keep learning, but also each year making sure that we bring new divers into the fold. We've
been lucky enough to benefit from the new fold chapter about 2-ish to 3 years ago, and we really value that because it is a small, close-knit group of people. It's not lots and lots of people being tuned through for training. It seems to be you guys have been really careful about who you lend your time to, because we're not paying you guys to help us. It's done in your own time.
I think it sort of has naturally attracted a really great group of people. We haven't had to be selective about it, other than kind of limiting the numbers, so so it's really manageable for all of us. And then as those learner divers that we all were, and I was too, that have got better and better, then you start supporting those coming up.
So a few of you basically got together thought, hey, we want to do some pool training, we want it to be safe, and was it targeted at that you also were all going to go spearfishing as well?
It was definitely so. Rob Harrison and Mike Smith set it up as a training group, but really with a spearfishing background to it, or it was sort of set up thinking about that the training would set us up for spearfishing. So the kind of training we do lots of CO2 training, CO2 tolerance training and things like that. So training for fitness for spearfishing was the more angle of it.
I love it. Just really quickly, when you said it's just CO2, can you elaborate on what you mean by that when it goes through your head?
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking as you're going down and feeling the urge to breathe? Or?
Yeah, so as the carbon dioxide levels are rising in your body and your brain's starting to get those messages that it would like to breathe and kind of just, repeating to myself or hearing Braden's words in my ear. And just repeating to yourself that that's not necessarily low oxygen. It's just a message from your brain and your body to say, hey, you haven't taken a breath, should you?
Yeah.
And going, actually, no, I'm fine.
Mantra, really, to think about.
Yeah, awesome mantra.
Can you give us a dear diary entry of your most memorable day diving?
Yes.
All right.
Most memorable day diving would be we did a trip to Walden. So it was my daughter and myself and a bunch of fundamentals crew, and we just had an insane. They were all pretty insane days, but this day I think we'd had a cray dive in the morning, and then we'd gone spearfishing. We were all just still so keen. So third dive of the day, and decided to have a little look for some bluefin.
Wow.
And two of the boys, really lucky, I should say skilled boys, you're skilled, got a fish each. And so the stoke of that happening on the boat was pretty incredible. And then it was a trip with Pure Salt, so they have a very really good attitude to kind of the amount of fish and seafood that's brought onto the boat. It's very much about it being sustainable and about being there to feed the group. So we decided that 2 was enough, but we're still pretty excited about this, and we spotted more. So Kate Vanderdrift, she's an incredible photographer, and I jumped in the water. Kate without her camera and me without my gun.
Oh. What were you thinking?
And it's a good question. Anyway, but we jumped in the water and we were just absolutely vortexed by this huge school of bluefin tuna.
Wow.
So we were diving down and they were absolute barrels, and just, that I still have such a clear vision of that in my mind, and I think very humbling to not have a camera and not have a spare gun, just have to be there really with it.
Yeah.
And what was happening. So yeah, that was very memorable.
I guess with that, like, if you had your camera in your hand or, had your spare gun there, you would have been probably more distracted. So it's just so cool that you just took that moment to just be a part of it.
I'm sure I'd still be telling it as my most memorable day if we'd got photos of it.
I think it's cool that, like you said, that I've heard that about that organisation with this Pure Salt as well, that they're really big on, only taking as much as it'll feed the people who are there on the trip and not going overkill. But I know I've heard that from a lot from you about different ocean moments that, you often point out different creatures you've seen and the way you've felt, not always going on about, oh, well, I shot this fish or I got this type of snapper. It was, you often talk about the feeling of those times in the water. So, yeah, that sounds really special.
Yeah.
Well, going from lovely and special, our next question is, do you have any funny stories for us?
I had asked you not to ask me a question about funny stories.
You did.
But
then she also at the pub told us that she is quite funny. So
we promise to laugh, no matter what you say.
No, so the story is, it's not that funny. But I went for a dive at Christmas time. In fact, it's not funny, but I'm going to tell the story. Went for a dive at Christmas time up in the far north with Malika Costa, who's a great dive buddy of mine, and my daughter Maya and my nephew Cooper, and the four of us went out, parked the boat in the middle of the bay, and Maya and Cooper went to the left because they wanted to go and get crayfish. Malika and I went to the right because we wanted to go spearfishing. And so we were out of sight for each other, and then so we're off doing our thing, and then I sort of thought I better just kind of pop my head back around and, put visual on. And I put my head back around and saw two scuba divers sitting perched on this rock, and I was like, oh, interesting. And you're kind of thinking, probably bronzy maybe, so I thought I really better go check on the others. So then went around, swam around a bit more, saw Maya and Cooper sitting on the top of a rock as well. So Malika and I were like, we better go and get them.
Oh, that's four people out on the water on the rocks at this point. It's never a good sign.
Better go and get them. So we got to the boat, and then we looked up and we see these two kids like hightailing it straight, as fast as you could swim, straight towards the boat. Climbed on the boat, couldn't talk, they were like, oh my gosh, and they said they were in the water, and they looked up and they saw a whole lot of fins coming towards them. So they climbed out, got on the rocks, they assumed it was sharks, sat on the rock, and then they realised that they were just dolphins, so they got back in the water to swim with the dolphins, and then as the dolphins came closer they realised that they were orca.
Whoa! Oh my gosh!
So they had, a once in a lifetime experience. Right?
How many orca do they reckon they saw?
I think there were three adults, 2 juveniles.
I can't even fathom. How big would they be? I'm pretty uneducated in the orca measurements.
Yeah, I don't know.
A couple metres kind of thing.
Yeah.
That must have been.
Yeah,
you go from panic to
longer. Actually,
cool,
no,
it's
longer.
dolphins.
The big ones are longer than that. Yeah.
I think that, I'm not scientifically proven on this, but I think that their dorsal fin is meant to be the same height as a person. Is that right? Could be up to 2 meters.
Yeah, they weren't that high.
Okay,
but yeah, I mean, they certainly.
Either way,
when we saw them, we kind of went because they then swam around the whole peninsula. So we saw them for quite a while. They are.
Sounds part amazing and part funny, to be honest. I would think that was funny if people looked like they were freaking out, and then they're like, "Oh, cool, it's just dolphins," and then you're like, "Actually, no." I know quite a few people, guys, who say they're not scared of sharks, say they wouldn't stay in the water with orca.
Yeah. I don't think the kids intended to be in the water with orca, but still, what an amazing that might.
That would have been such an incredible experience.
Yeah.
So I just did a real quick Google. Orcas can be from 5.5 to 9.8 meters, weigh up to 5,500 kg.
Wow.
And the dorsal fin of a male can be up to 1.8 meters tall. Can you imagine that?
I'm trying to think. So we were in a 5 meter boat, and I think because they came up beside the boat while we were parked, and they would have been not much shorter than the boat.
Yeah.
But not much shorter.
What an incredible experience. I'm sure when you saw your kids get back in the boat, you probably weren't expecting them to say that, would you? Wow. Speaking of diving with your kids, what is it like bringing up your children around the ocean? It's always something that I would love to have for my kids, but there are definitely things that make me nervous about having them in the water. I mean, they're so precious, and while we negotiate risk all the time and we feel like it's okay for us, how is it being okay with that for your children? I guess.
I don't know. I haven't probably thought about it like that before. I think the kids I mean, the kids grew up in Central Europe for a start, where we lived.
Okay.
So they went in the water until I think we came back to New Zealand when my youngest was 3. So, but we moved to Muriwai and they started nippers at that age. So they were in. I mean, Muriwai's not a calm, gentle beach generally.
No.
So, they were in the water from really early on, and also I'd started diving at that time. So. They've just grown up with it, and and they're gutsy in the water, and I guess I've tried to share my passion with them, but also try and create some space for them to find their own things that they love as well. But I think the involvement with surf lifesaving brings a lot of water skill. So they've learnt a lot through that, and then that confidence is just there.
Would you say that they're quite competent swimmers, quite confident in the water as well, and then like things like the risk of sharks and things like that probably maybe wouldn't freak them out as much as, say, other people then?
Yeah, I mean, you would know, right? Because you spend a lot of time in the ocean growing up as well, and you kind of go...
pretty ocean confident, but definitely not necessarily confident with sharks, as we know.
So, I'd say they are completely competent in the ocean, absolutely, and in waves, and you know what it's like if you're confident in the ocean, then that's quite a lot of spearing and that sort of thing. Yeah,
that can be a big barrier.
And then in terms of sharks, I haven't mentioned or talked about sharks as being anything sort of different at all.
Like a creature you would see,
just another fish in the sea. Yeah. So we never sort of talked about it any differently. Although then I think in the last year or two, when it's more likely that they'll have fish, or more likely that they'll be in situations, or that they're both now able to dive without me. So kind of going, well, if they encounter sharks, and it's one of my kids and a cousin, just sort of prepping them for that a little bit around what to do and how to be around them. And they saw their first shark this summer, so jumped in. I don't know if you've got kids, you turn up at the spot, you anchor the boat, and the kids, like, once they've got past that, how do I put you get past the stage of them putting their wetsuits on really slowly, all of a sudden, you get to a spot, the wetsuits are on, and they're in the water before I am, boom, straight in.
Love that.
And that's what happened on this day, and, they were both in the water, and Jake came flying out of the water into the back of the boat in one smooth movement, and Bronzy had swum right up to him in the water, and Maya she was a few metres away, and so I said to her really calmly, Maya, there's a shark, and she just sort of froze and couldn't decide whether to swim to the rock or swim to the boat, because she was sort of halfway. So, but it was fine.
And just for our listeners, how old are the kids?
Maya's now 16 and Jake's 13.
Cool, because I remember seeing a picture of Jake with a massive kingy in the last few months.
Oh, he's going to be so gutted. That was his cousin, Cooper.
Oh no! Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Good on the cousin too.
Good on Cooper.
They're around the cousin though, so it's a family hangout. Wow.
Jake has shot the largest pigfish I've ever seen.
I'm sorry, Jake. I officially apologise. And you know what? I also have shot a big pigfish. So we can talk about that another time. Yeah, he's going to hate me now.
How old were they when you started taking them diving?
I don't know, pretty young. And I think you sort of go through that stage where they're just following you a bit before they're ready to start doing stuff. So under 10,
Fantastic.
quite early on. Yeah.
I was talking to Maya's friend at training who's here, and I was talking to her, I was saying how great she looked on the pool and how awesome it was that in her first pool session winter, and she reminded me that she's been going freediving with your daughter since she was 10.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah, true, you're not exactly a freediving beginner, which made me feel a whole lot better that I was so impressed with her skill level.
Yeah.
So you've obviously been doing a lot of freediving skills and confidence with them for many years.
Well, those two, I think the kind of real key with those two was we bought them both really good wetsuits, like free dive wetsuits early on in the piece. And it's because if you can keep kids warm in the water, I reckon you're, 80% there.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's something I've always kind of wondered. Yeah. I mean, I have had times tucking my kids on my back, and I've got them in life jackets because I've got a 6 and a 3-year-old. So you know, my 6-year-old dives down and thinks that she's like seeing all these fish, which is like you just agree with, and you're like, yeah, you definitely saw that just because of the like excitement that she has with it. Meanwhile, like my 3-year-old's just like clinging onto my neck because he's just so scared.
And not all experiences is going to be great.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, and I think it's sort of letting go of some of the expectations you have of your own diving when you're diving with kids too. And I wouldn't say that I've always done a great job of that, because it's really easy to get caught up and you're going spearing. But I think, where I've been able to kind of go, actually, I'm not going spearing. We are going in the water, and the kids are gonna, we're gonna dive together, and sort of let go of the expectations of necessarily shooting fish or whatever's been helpful.
Yeah.
I guess you've been in a somewhat of a coaching role as a parent and being that, that mentor and that coach for them. But we also obviously know of you as being a coach to us in the water. But you've crafted your brainchild, I guess, idea and passion into creating your own brand for being a freedive instructor called OAR. Which we love and are very excited for you about. But I guess we wanted to know, how did you kind of...
Who was also a sponsor of the New Zealand team. So.
Yes, very good point. Elisa's recent endeavours for Mercury Bay had the lovely OAR logo on their New Zealand team shirts, which is awesome. So nice of Kerry to support the gals for that. But what made you kind of go, okay, I'm spending quite a bit of time, you're volunteering your time for free, along with being in a surf club, which takes up a lot of time. You're doing the fundamental stuff, you're doing your own training, you're being a parent, you're full-time working. What made you kind of be like, I want to start this to help people get into freediving and call it OAR? Like, how did you get there?
I think what I've seen with myself, and I've heard you guys describe it as well, but that, the how much you find this sport and absolutely love it, and you have that stoke, and then you find people around you and they have that too. And then I think through fundamentals we've really seen, you see people just get that buzz, and I really love that sort of early stage of people's diving journey where they are gaining confidence in themselves, kind of breaking through barriers that they've put up for themselves, and growing, and really wanted to just take that to the next step, both with my own diving, so becoming qualified as an instructor, but then being able to share that and take people through courses, in a structured way where you've got time to spend with them and time to develop. And then I think what I love is sort of seeing, someone will come into a course, but where the course is not the be all and end all, but then you see their journey go on, and it's just been a stepping stone, and sort of seeing people go through that's been cool. So OAR Freedive came about through the awe that I feel when I'm in the ocean, and seemed a fitting way to do it. So I teach courses, but I also love to collaborate with other instructors and support them on their courses as well.
So predominantly as a freediving training course, for anyone beginning who would happily come to a course in the Auckland area, that's essentially where you're running them?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, in the Auckland area. So I teach the PADI freedive courses, or I work with Rob Harrison as well, and I assist him on the AIDA courses, or vice versa. So in the Auckland region. Yeah.
Nice. And we know you incorporated quite a bit of, and you have in the past, quite a bit of yoga and breathing and that aspect to the way that you coach your freediving, which is the part that I think me and Elise really enjoyed when we did the AIDA course and even at some of our sessions. Because not everyone does that with freediving, and I think it's a big part in being relaxed and being able to actually perform all of those skills that freediving requires.
Yeah.
Is that something that you just decided to add in because that's something you already have a passion towards as well?
I did, yeah. So I did yoga, but I did my yoga teacher training sort of similar time that I did my freedive instructor training as well, and really like the idea of combining those two elements. I know how much I've grown through yoga, but also, how much calm and peace that I find. And those two skills complement each other so well. And you saw on the course, right, you turn up to a course and there's quite a bit of maybe nervous energy or expectation.
Absolutely.
Or, the feeling is quite high, and starting those days with yoga can really centre people, bring them to where they are for the day. And that's before you even kind of get into sort of starting to think about the relaxation. Freediving and spearfishing is also very much about being able to be relaxed. So if you can help people sort of start from a more relaxed space, then they're in a really good place to learn. Also, and for your body as well, the flexibility and strength and things that you can add to it. So,
yeah, I did find that really special when we did that course. And actually, even just when we show up to training in summer on the lake, and you get there a bit early and you get to go through a little quick session with Kerry with breathing and doing a little bit of yoga, it's so incredibly beneficial. More so than I would have thought, because I hadn't done much yoga beforehand, and I was like, wow, this is actually really nice. I was quite nervous at the time when we did our first course, and I was like, oh my god, how am I going to pass and all of that. But yeah, it was a really centering way to begin the day. We
did an 8 to 4 down in Taupo. It was a few months ago, and we incorporated quite a lot of yoga into that with the guys. And it was a group that probably some had probably never done yoga before, and it was really nice to see people kind of, even if I don't necessarily call it yoga, but you're just doing the thing and seeing people kind of go, oh, actually it really helps me, and it really helps the diving that I'm about to do as well.
They all mentioned it actually, a couple of them separately, differently, which is cool. I know we shouldn't think that there's those stereotypes of males not wanting to do yoga and things, but there were no other girls on the trip, so I think that's awesome that they all came back being like, we should do more of these trips, we really like the yoga, that helped, and they actually went on about it. I think that's really awesome. I guess we know that you are someone who really values your well-being, and you get this calm energy in your life from freediving and from being by the ocean and yoga, but if you're talking to anyone else about how you could specifically say how spearfishing impacts your well-being, what would you say? And it obviously does, Yeah,
it definitely does. It absolutely does. I go back to that feeling again, and I think too. So one, there's the feeling, and there's the mental health aspect of how great you feel when you've had a day in the water, but also I think doing difficult things. Spearfishing is not easy, generally not easy.
Not that easy, no.
And so, doing difficult things and teaching yourself to do those difficult things and getting better at them, I think that really, it makes you feel good, and it makes you feel proud, and knowing that you can grow, I think is helpful for people.
So good for us, eh? So good for us to do things that are tricky and hard and scary and fulfilling.
Exactly. Yeah. Plus you get to do it with, you should get to do it with really incredible people who share that exact same vibe with you. So you get the whole social element as well.
Yeah, I love that part. And every time you get in the ocean, it's different. There's never a time where a different fish is swimming past, or a different current, or completely different conditions one day to the next on the same spot. The ocean is just so cool because you never know what you're going to get when you jump in, right?
Yeah.
Kerry, you have done some competitions in the past at different spearfishing events. What is it that you enjoy about competing versus just going for a peaceful, calm dive?
So I've had a couple of comps, and I think part of it was being, having someone kind of pick you up and go, hey, would you like to come and do this comp with me? And, and having someone take you under their wing is really amazing. Yeah. But for the comp itself, I think, it's a fun weekend. It's an adventure away. It's focused. It's high octane. It's kind of, I've done quite a lot of endurance or trail running and stuff. So I think, it's for me. It's really it's an endurance event. So
Yeah,
to get out there and kind of be able to go for that whole time, 4 hours or 6 hours, is kind of think being able to kind of take that skill and put it into comps has been really cool. I've only done a couple. So it's so fun.
So I get from you that, you really enjoy the physical. Like, I don't know that about you. I think Elisa's probably thinking the same thing. Like, I didn't know that you ran. We're too busy talking about diving all the time. But so you sounds like you quite enjoy the physical challenge of being able to dive all day under kind of a high-paced environment when competing. Is that?
Yeah, I think so. And just to kind of, it takes. You need to be you need to be fit to do comps, or you need to be able to really grind through 6 hours of diving. So I really enjoyed the challenge of being in the water. I think if you have a dive day out on the boat, you're in the water for that amount of time anyway. But it's you can have a bit of a break and chill out and stuff. Whereas the comps are a lot more focused.
That is interesting that you said that you do endurance running. Just with Rob, like he used to do a lot of multi-sport events, so I didn't realise you guys had like a bit of a, comparative past in that, which is quite cool.
That's a lot less forgiving to the body than spearfishing and freediving is.
Maybe you might be doing that when you're 19, maybe.
Moving into a more low-impact water sport seems to be a common thread between a lot of our conversations and interviews so far. Things to do in your older years.
I did just ask if I was old, if I got a cup of tea at the pub.
You're not the first person, Elise. But also, I think, quite seriously, I fully intend to be freediving and spearfishing my whole life. I sort of think how incredible it found. Not found, it's been around for a while. But it's nice to be doing something that has got longevity to it, and it'd be nice to imagine that being able to have that kind of stoke when you're in your 70s.
Yeah.
So it continues to give back, isn't it? So it's a very rare thing. I think I said that in some other conversations, that there's not many things like the Sparrow community or like the pursuit of growing your own freediving and spearfishing and all those experiences that are constantly changing. There's not much like it.
Yeah.
It's pretty special, and I think there's a special something about everyone who spends time doing it. Well, moving on to some more fishier questions. Do you have a favourite fish that you like hunting the most?
Yes, I love hunting snapper because they are so clever. Usually more cleverer than me. I love hunting snapper because they're a real challenge, and they're a hunt, and you need to have thought about where they're going to be. You need to be quiet to get there, and then you generally need to have decent reflexes to get them to. So.
And like we said before, it sounds like you did not realise how great it was that you got your first snapper that you got.
Oh yeah, no, totally went backwards after that for quite a while. But no, and just I think too, hunting snapper is so if you're hunting kingfish, it is generally again a bit more high energy and all the rest of it. Whereas snapper snooping is so quiet and calm, and I love that. That's probably my favourite kind of dive as a snoop.
That's what I was actually going to ask, because I've only just started getting into it myself, and I'm noticing this trend of that high-paced kingfish chase and fight and them turning up. Whereas snapper, like you say, it can be calm. Often people don't want to dive around many other people, if anyone, to be laying burley. Or I know you recently got quite a large snapper mid-water.
Huge.
Well, around the same time that Elise did, actually, but
same weekend, same day,
not same place. But I remember thinking, here we go, gals on the snaps.
Stupid snapper day, maybe.
But that must be awesome too, and I think that must, from my very amateur level, understand that there must be a lot of skill in being able to mid-water snapper shoot too, because just because it's there does not mean that snapper aren't super flighty. So obviously it takes a long time to build up those skills of being able to anticipate how snapper move and where to shoot them too. They tear off easily. And a decent amount of luck as well. I think every time I get a snapper, there's a good amount of that in it.
There's some luck.
Would you say that snapper is your favourite fish to prepare then and eat? Or if not, what is?
I really love a kingfish sashimi. You know what? I really love any fish that's sashimied on a table, and it's got a gaggle of kids surrounding it, like trying to, I think that image of kind of bringing fish home and having, this bunch of children and adults or whatever, just kind of getting it as,
Gannets.
Oh my
the
God.
Gannets,
The
yeah,
Gannets
that's
are
like
in it.
Gannets, like that's the favourite thing. But me personally, I really love kingfish sashimi. Probably my
Yum. Sashimi is
Probably my
my
fave.
favourite as well. It's just there's so many ways to you can prepare it, but just also it's just good by itself too, with a little bit of soy sauce and Kewpie mayo.
yes.
So good. Have you got any upcoming trips soon?
I have got, spearfishing. I'll probably try and get out for a really good spearfishing adventure as often as possible, like getting out diving every couple of weeks in the sea, as well as our training and stuff. But, like a good weekend adventure once a month, if I can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love freediving as much as I love spearfishing. So I have a freediving trip coming up in a month off to Bali. We went to Bali last year and kind of did a bit of everything, did a bit of spearfishing and did a bit of sightseeing, out to the Komodo Islands and a bit of sightseeing, but also went to Ahmed and trained there, which I just loved, It's just a little mecca for freediving, so being able to go there and you've got depth off the beach and can freedive and yoga your heart out. So yeah,
You're going to get yourself some new diving pants this time. So there was a bit of a dreadful story about your Bali dive pants last time.
I told you that. Did I tell you that?
That's why I remember it.
Oh, damn. I bought myself a really flash wetsuit last year for the dive trip, and I, like a really thin one, and I pulled it on the very first dive on the very first day and ripped a massive hole in the butt. So it was unwearable. So
disappointing.
Well, hopefully
I didn't have leggings that trip.
hopefully you've got some kit that you can look after in those tropical waters this time then. And then
It's not the first time I've ripped a big hole in the back of my wetsuit, so it seems to be a theme.
Well, Rob didn't lend you his budgie smugglers that time.
No.
Oh well. Do you have any dive day rituals?
I have pre-dive day rituals. Get everything ready the night before.
Yeah.
I'm not, because you're getting up super early in the morning, and I'm not the greatest thinker first thing in the morning. So it's, having the car packed, having my food sorted, everything.
Yeah.
Is probably my big one.
That's really good, actually. Like a lot of the time, we're thinking about things that you might do in the morning or during or while you're out there to prepare. But that's hugely practical and. Yeah.
Plus, it's exciting, eh?
Yeah.
Going off on my adventure.
Well thought out.
And then I don't always sleep that well before a trip, that night before the trip. So it's just kind of, waking up in the morning if I've only had a few hours sleep because I've been excited about going out.
like Santa's coming.
Exactly. Then, just not being stressed about that. You can dive all day without really any sleep, and just also knowing that after a day of diving, you're going to have the most incredible sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep.
Yeah.
So that, and then on the day, heaps of water and electrolytes.
Okay.
Keeping hydrated is probably the biggie.
That was going to be one of my questions too, because I know you and I have had quite a lot of conversations about
Ears.
ears and new station tasks. And I remember in one of the first trainings at a lake, I saw you putting this spray in your ears, and I remember thinking God, these guys are hard out. They're spritzing their ears and doing all this stuff. And now that I'm 2 years in, I'm got this weird regime, and talk to you a lot about that kind of stuff. So there's those kinds of things you just do without thinking now.
No, I don't know that I've got it nailed. Still definitely get ear infections and things. So. But yeah, looking after my ears, because I know that I'm prone to getting an ear infection. But I sort of know if I'm in good health and I'm well hydrated, I'm well along the way to, to having less issues. But I enjoy our ear talks, Laura.
Yeah, it's a sexy thing to talk about. How's your holes, Kerry?
Your ear holes, just making
Thanks
sure
for
everyone
clarifying.
understands that. So if you could go back to the start and give yourself some advice, what would it be?
I kind of alluded to it earlier. It's probably that, it's you're not learning too late. You're learning just at the right time, and you've got years of this ahead, and learning this now while you're a mature woman is a really good thing. And then the other little thing I used to do for myself, when you're learning and you go out and you don't shoot any fish and everyone else on the boat does and all the rest of it, just kind of going, what was the one thing I learnt today?
Yeah.
Like, what did I take out of today? What did I learn? Because there's always something. You ask my kids, like, I came home empty-handed plenty of times.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe not empty-handed, but with other people's fish.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I do like that because I've heard you say that heaps. Like, I'm like, oh man, like, missed that fish. I'm like real bummed about it, and you'd be like, well, you've got like a whole life ahead of you to catch fish like that again. And you're like, I like that.
There's so many different things that we could probably continue to ask you about and pick your brain, and we're hoping you'll let us drag you on here another time, maybe for some specific guidance around maybe equalising and freediving techniques and things, because we know that you have a lot of knowledge in that area, and even how to incorporate breathing and yoga into diving. But to finish off, I guess something a little in the kind of dream zone. Do you have, I know you're saying you enjoy freediving just as much as spearfishing.
Yeah.
But do you have any dream dive locations or like dream fish that, like, if you hope between now and when your life comes to an end, that you could go and visit certain places or get a certain fish? Is there anything
I haven't dived, a lot overseas. I've done a few different places, but I feel for me, still coming back to that dive at your local spot, bringing the fish home to your family, kind of whatever the fish is, like that's my dream, is that being able to come home, feed the family, have everyone, enjoying that and being able to, I think, so the dream is probably being able to continue that experience.
That is a really cool way to say, it's not a place or a fish, but it's who and that family gathering feeling is what you hope you can continue for the rest of your diving days. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Which will be long time. So we just so appreciate you, Kerry, and thank you so much for being here and answering questions for us.
Hanging out in the TAB,
hanging out in the
probably
TAB.
Not the classiest spot for your first podcast with us.
It's really cool watching you two, because I think you came. Well, the first time I met you was on the course, right?
Yeah,
met us or heard us.
It's when it all started.
And so, sort of seen the different challenges that you've faced as you've gone through it, but you've both just dedicated so much energy and time to it. And I think seeing you progress how you have is really cool,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess all we can say to that is we just love it. And you guys have shown us an incredible life that we can live in the ocean, so it's pretty cool.
You're doing it, you see?
Not to be all girl power on it, but it is really awesome to have someone who's older than us, who's female, who is just you just set such a good energy and vibe for being able to just continue to do it. And like Lisa was saying, being able to do it with your kids and just doing it classy and graceful. There's something about watching you in the water, and particularly we've just done training with you, but this is so cheesy, but I'm going to say I genuinely am in awe of you in the pool, particularly. Like the way you move and freedive is just, it's honestly like so graceful to watch, and it's just something that I hope I can aspire to do. But I have also seen you shoot kingies, and you're a badass in the water with a spear gun as well, so bit of a hybrid danger mix. Kerry Walden.
It's nice to
grace and punish.
Yeah. But that's cool. I love that. I love that you can have that, real ease and calm, but also you can also have that, you can be a hunter as well at the other end, and it's been very cool.
Maybe that's what we'll call your episode, the graceful weapon.
Love it. Thank you so much, Kerry.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Elise.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
Well, we appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we hope you felt as inspired by Kerry's calm presence and perspective on spearing as we did.
Keep your eyes peeled for how to enter our prize draw as a listener or a follower of Spearo Diaries, as details of our online prize draw and the New Zealand Boat Fish Dive Expo goodies will be posted soon.
Including a spear gun from Weddy, a knife set from Victory Knives, artwork from Diver Mon, and some fins made by Dive R. We'll catch you on the next one. Toodles!
Toodles!